Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhantam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Do me, we do me.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Srila Gurudeva. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Dasi Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Dasi Srimad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kundagiri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled
Hare
devotees.
Krishna.
All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
So, Hare Krishna, my dear devotees, on Zoom. As far as possible, I request you to put on your cameras so we can see your moon-like faces and it is more personal. So we welcome you to the most auspicious celebration of Sri Gaura Purnima, the appearance day of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. According to Vedic scriptures, the absolute truth is realized in three features: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Impersonal speculators want to merge and become one with God, one with the impersonal Brahmajyoti, which is nothing but the transcendental effulgence emanating from the divine body of Sri Krishna. Beyond the impersonal Brahman is Paramatma, the Lord within the heart. The Purusha avatars, Karanadakshaya Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, are the soul of the universe, the soul of creation, and the soul of souls. And beyond realization of impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma is realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is the source of Paramatma and Brahman. That same Krishna, who appeared about 5,000 years ago, appeared again some 500 years ago as Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Why is it that Krishna, who came 5,000 years ago and spoke the Bhagavad Gita and exhibited so many pastimes, came again? In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Krishna's thoughts after he had manifested his pastimes on earth 5,000 years ago are recorded. These thoughts explain why he came again 500 years ago as Sri Krishna Chaitanya. We are all here by the mercy of Sri Krishna Chaitanya and his followers in disciplic succession, especially His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And practically every activity that we do is based on the instructions and activities or example of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. You can hardly find any aspect of the Krishna consciousness movement that is not based on his teachings and precedents. So it is very important, essential, to understand him, because without understanding him, we cannot really progress very far toward the ultimate goal of life. So now I will read from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, Chapter 3, the external reasons for the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So I'll read just the English translation of texts 13 through 16. Again, this is Adi Lila chapter 3. Lord Krishna enjoys his transcendental pastimes as long as he wishes, and then he disappears. After disappearing, however, he thinks thus: for a long time I have not bestowed unalloyed loving service to me upon the inhabitants of the world. Without such loving attachment, the existence of the material world is useless. Everywhere in the world, people worship me according to scriptural injunctions, but simply by following such regulative principles, one cannot attain the loving sentiments of the devotees in Vrajabhumi. Knowing my opulence, the whole world looks upon me with awe and veneration. But devotion made feeble by such reverence does not attract me. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. After his appearance, Lord Krishna thought that he had not distributed the transcendental personal dealings with his devotees in Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. One may understand the science of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the Vedic literature and thus become a devotee of the Lord and worship him within the regulative principles described in the scriptures. But one will not know in this way how Lord Krishna is served by the residents of Vrajabhumi. By following scriptural injunctions, one may enhance his appreciation for the glories of the Lord. But there is no chance for one to enter into personal dealings with him. Giving too much attention to understanding the exalted glories of the Lord reduces the chance of one's entering into personal loving affairs with the Lord. To teach the principles of such loving dealings, the Lord decided to appear as Lord Chaitanya. Text 19. Yuga Dharma Pravartimu Nama Sankirtana Chari Bhava Bhakti Diya Nama Chubhuvana. Translation. I shall personally inaugurate the religion of the age, Nama Sankirtan, the congregational chanting of the holy name. I shall make the world dance in ecstasy, realizing the four mellows of devotional service. So the Lord came to introduce the Yuga Dharma, the recommended process for self-realization or God realization in the present age, and that is Nam Sankirtan, the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. Text 20. Apani karimu bhakta bhava angikare, apani achari bhakti sikamu sabare. Translation. I shall accept the role of a devotee, and I shall teach devotional service by practicing it myself. Purport. When one associates with a pure devotee, he becomes so elevated that he does not aspire even for Shasti, Sarupya, Samipya, or Salopya, because he feels that such liberation is a kind of sense gratification. Pure devotees do not ask anything from the Lord for their personal benefit. Even if offered personal benefits, the pure devotee does not accept them, because their only desire is to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by transcendental loving service. A good example of that is Prahlad Maharaj, who was offered various benedictions by the Supreme Lord, but he refused to accept them. So this is a very important point. Externally, one may engage in devotional service, and that is very good. But what really matters in devotional service is the consciousness. We are living in the material world, which is composed of and influenced by the three modes of material nature: Tamogun, Rajogun, and Sattvagun, the modes of ignorance, passion, and goodness. Beyond even Sattvagun is Shuddha-sattva, or the state of Vasudeva, which is transcendental to all three modes. Within the material world, no one can be in pure ignorance or pure passion or pure goodness. There is always some mixing of the different modes. Only when one comes to the transcendental platform is one freed from the influence of the modes. Srila Prabhupada has explained different mentalities that one can have in the practice of devotional service. The same principles are enunciated in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. But Srila Prabhupada has phrased his explanation in a way that we can easily understand and relate to. Someone engaged in devotional service under the influence of the mode of ignorance will think, I am the only devotee. No one else here is a real devotee. I am the only one who's doing anything of value. Everyone else is useless. That is devotional service influenced by the mode of ignorance. In devotional service influenced by the mode of passion, one thinks, I want to be the best devotee. I want to be known for being the best devotee. Someone influenced by the mode of goodness will think, I want to go home back to Godhead. And someone who is transcendentally situated in pure devotional service will think, I just want to please Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach and show by his personal example pure devotional service, in which a devotee has no selfish desire even to go back to Godhead. As Srila Prabhupada says, the pure devotee considers the liberation of going back to Godhead to be sense gratification. He wants only to serve the Lord. That is pure devotional service. That is what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach and exemplify. And that is what Srila Prabhupada also taught and exemplified and wanted us to follow. So, coming back to the purport, therefore, when the Lord took the place of the incarnation of Kali Yuga to spread the glories of chanting Hare Krishna. But this is another important point, that Krishna himself does not come in every Kali Yuga as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Krishna himself does not come in every Dwapara Yuga. There is a Yuga avatar or incarnation in every Satya Yuga, every Treta Yuga, every Dwapara Yuga, and every Kali Yuga. But only once in a day of Brahma, which is about 4,320,000,000 years, will Krishna, the original personality of Godhead, come in Dwapara Yuga. And only once in a day of Brahma will Krishna come again as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Kali Yuga. In the Kali Yuga, immediately following the Dwapara Yuga in which Krishna appeared. So how fortunate we are to be living in the Kali Yuga in which Sri Krishna Chaitanya appeared. When Lord Chaitanya was present, he predicted, Prativite achayata nagaradigra sarvatra pracharhaive marna. In every town and village on the surface of the earth, my name, or Krishna's name, will be preached. That prediction seemed almost inconceivable. Yes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spread Krishna consciousness throughout India. But the idea of spreading Krishna consciousness throughout the world seemed impossible. Even followers of Lord Chaitanya thought he might be speaking in some poetic or metaphorical way, not that it would actually happen. In Sri Chaitanya Mangala, Srila Lochan Das Thakur explains that Lord Chaitanya appeared and preached in Navadvip to establish the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra as a religious process for the age of Kali. Lord Chaitanya said, I want to flood the whole world with the chanting of the holy names. I will personally preach and flood India with the holy name. Later, my commander-in-chief devotee, Senapati Bhakta, will come, preach in distant countries, and flood the world with the chanting of Hare Krishna. Senapati means commander-in-chief. A very special soul would be entrusted to do this otherwise impossible assignment. And that we know was His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He left this world in 1977, which would be about 45 years ago. So anyone older than 45 years of age was on the planet at the same time as Srila Prabhupada, the Senapati Bhakta who was personally sent by Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we are members of a society that was established by him. We have an amazing opportunity. So we should understand how fortunate we are to have this opportunity and take full advantage of it. How? We first have to understand what that means. we have to understand what Lord Chaitanya and Srila Prabhupada came to give us so we can recognize it and accept it. Lord Chaitanya said, I shall accept the role of a devotee and I shall teach devotional service by practicing it myself. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, therefore, when the Lord took the place of the incarnation of Kali Yuga, in other words, the Lord himself does not personally come as the Yuga avatar in every Kali Yuga. So coming back to the purport, the end of the purport, when the Lord took the place of the incarnation of Kali Yuga to spread the glories of chanting Hare Krishna, the system of worship recommended in this age, he also distributed the process of devotional service performed on the platform of transcendental spontaneous love, to teach the highest principles of spiritual life. The Lord himself appeared as a devotee in the form of Lord Chaitanya. Jai. So now I will read from another section of Chaitanya Charitamrita about two of the most important principles of devotional service that Lord Chaitanya taught and that we are meant to learn and adopt. This discussion took place between Lord Chaitanya and the Mayavadi sannyasis in Benares. In the Shankara Sampradaya, it is expected that sannyasis will study Vedanta, and Varanasi is full of Mayavadis, full of followers or so-called followers of Shankaracharya. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Varanasi, he performed Harinam Sankirtan, Nagar Sankirtan, and thousands of people joined him. But the Mayavadi sannyasis, impersonal sannyasis who want to realize Brahman, could not understand the transcendental activities of the Lord. They thought that the Lord's activities were material. That's why they are called Mayavadis, because they themselves are material on the material platform, and they see the Lord, his name, his form, his qualities, his pastimes, his service, as material, as Maya, and therefore they are called Mayavadis. They think that the deity is material, that in the beginning we may focus on the deity, but then when we are advanced enough, we go beyond the deity and merge and become one with the impersonal light. In other words, they're atheists. There's a very nice verse in the Padma Purana saying that anyone who thinks that the deity is just stone, who thinks that the Guru is an ordinary human being, who thinks that a Vaishnava belongs to a certain caste or community, is a resident of hell. That word is used, Naraki. Arche Vishnu Shiladir Guru Shu Naramatir Vaishnave Jatabudir Shri Vishnor Namni Mantre Sakala Kalusa He Shabde Samanya Budir Yasya Va Naraki Sa. Quote, one who considers the worshipable deity of Lord Vishnu to be mere stone, the spiritual master to be an ordinary human being, a Vaishnav to belong to a particular caste, and the mantra of the holy name of Vishnu, which destroys all impurities, to be a material vibration, is a resident of hell. So just consider, if you think that the deity is made of stone, of course, in theory, we may say the deity is Krishna. But to what extent do we actually believe that the deity is Krishna, as shown by our behavior? If one thinks that the spiritual master is an ordinary person, and again, we may outwardly show respect, but the real test is to what extent we follow the spiritual master's instructions. And if we think that a Vaishnava belongs to a certain community or ethnic group, for example, if I think that's an American Vaishnava or an African Vaishnava or a Mexican Vaishnava or a Bengali Vaishnava or a Gujarati Vaishnava, that is a hellish mentality. Nardaki Saha. To really benefit from what Lord Chaitanya and Srila Prabhupada came to give us, we have to understand what they taught and practiced so that we can follow their instructions and example. I mentioned Lord Chaitanya speaking with the Mayavadi sannyasis. There was a meeting of all the sannyasis of Varanasi, and the leader of the Mayavadi sannyasis asked Lord Chaitanya, "Why don't you study Vedanta? All sannyasis are supposed to study Vedanta." And Lord Chaitanya replied, "Guru More Murka Deki Karila Shashana." My spiritual master considered me a fool, and therefore he chastised me. This shows what should be the mood of a disciple in relation to the spiritual master. As Srila Prabhupada said, one should always feel himself to be a fool and be ready to be chastised by the Guru. In the Bhagavad concept of life, influenced by false ego, we feel insulted. How dare he call me a fool? Doesn't he know who I am? One of Lord Chaitanya's chief disciples was Srila Sanatana Goswami, a very learned scholar. He was fluent in Sanskrit and Persian and knowledgeable in scriptures and philosophy. But when he approached Lord Chaitanya, he told him, "In ordinary dealings, people call me a learned scholar, Pandit, but I am such a Pandit that I do not even know who I am or what is the goal of life. So please instruct me." When we come to that position where we feel that we are fools who need to be instructed, we can approach a spiritual master. The same sort of incident took place in the Bhagavad Gita. In the beginning, Arjuna was speaking with Krishna more or less as an equal, talking as friends. Krishna was telling Arjuna that he should fight, and Arjuna was coming up with so many reasons why he should not fight. From a certain point of view, the reasons may have sounded good, but in the end, Arjuna came to the point where he admitted he really didn't know what he should do. And then he told Krishna, like Sanatana Goswami in a way, "Now I am confused about my duty. Shishyasteham Shadimam Tvam Prapanam. Now I am surrendering to you as your disciple. Please instruct me. And this is explained in Bhagavad Gita 2:7. Karpanya doso phata svabhava Pichami tvam dharma samudacheta yat shreyasan nischitam bruhitam me shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. Now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. And from that point, when Arjuna surrendered to Krishna as his spiritual master, Krishna was able to instruct him and spoke the Bhagavad Gita. So, Guru More Murka Deki Karila Shashana. Lord Chaitanya said, my spiritual master considered me to be a fool and he chastised me. He told me, you are not qualified to study Vedanta philosophy. Was Lord Chaitanya unqualified? He is Krishna himself. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Vedanta Krit Vedavit. I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. But Lord Chaitanya was showing us the example that we should not be so proud that we think we can understand Vedanta. Because in Kali Yuga, you really can't understand Vedanta. He was setting the example. My spiritual master considered me a fool and said, you are not qualified to study Vedanta philosophy, and therefore you must always chant the holy name of Krishna. And then Lord Chaitanya said, I took the instructions of my spiritual master to heart, and I always chant the holy name. But while chanting, I lose myself. And thus I laugh, cry, dance, and sing just like a madman. I began to think that my knowledge was being covered. So I approached my spiritual master for clarification. Just so I know how to gauge myself, how much time do we have? How much time do I have?
Another 5 minutes, Maharaj. Another 5 minutes, Maharaj.
5 minutes? Oh my gosh. All right, well, I'll try to wind up. And then is there time for questions and comments?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. All right. All right, so I'll just conclude with one incident from Juhu, in which Srila Prabhupada enunciated a very important principle of devotional service. One evening, Srila Prabhupada was sitting on the terrace of one of the buildings at the back. This was before we actually got permission to build anything on the property. There were some tenement buildings with tenants, and one of the tenants left. So at least we had one apartment where Srila Prabhupada could stay. So he was sitting on the terrace one evening, and his disciple Haridas was fanning him. At 7 o'clock, Srila Prabhupada said to Haridas, "Did you hear that?" Haridas trained to hear, but he said no. Srila Prabhupada said, "You don't hear the sound of kirtan coming from the temple?" Haridas Prabhu listened and said, "No, Srila Prabhupada, I don't." And Srila Prabhupada said, "That is exactly the point. There is no kirtan in the temple. It is arati time, but there is no kirtan in the temple. Where are all the devotees?" Haridas Prabhu said, "Well, Srila Prabhupada, they must have gone to the city to collect for the project and haven't come back yet." Srila Prabhupada said, "This was not my idea, that the devotees should go to the city and collect all day and night. Our process is to please Krishna. They may go at 9 in the morning and return by 5 in the evening and then chant in front of the deities. Otherwise, they will become like karmis." Then he asked Haridas, "Do you know why we were successful in getting this land? There had been a big struggle. If any of you have read Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, and I do recommend that every devotee read it, you would know that the owner of the land, Mr. Nair, was a prominent person in Bombay. He had been the sheriff, owned one of Bombay's 3 English daily newspapers, and was wealthy and influential. So Srila Prabhupada asked Haridas, "Do you know why we were successful and Mr. Nair wasn't? We are successful because we try to please Krishna. And Krishna is merciful and reciprocates with us. Otherwise, Mr. Nair was much more powerful than we. Yet we were successful because we were simply trying to please Krishna, following the regulative principles of devotional service. And by Krishna's grace, we were successful. So we should come and sing and dance in front of the deities and please them. And by their grace, we will get all success. We are not successful by our own strength. We are successful by Krishna's grace. So this is a very important principle in devotional service. And I thought it could be a fit conclusion to our little presentation on the occasion of Gaura Purnima. So now, my dear devotees, if any of you have any questions or comments, any reflections, you can raise your hand, your physical hand or your virtual hand, and we can discuss further. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Well, there's 106 participants. We must have a special Zoom. We must have a special Zoom program to accommodate so many participants. Wonderful.
There's a question marked by Pandit Srivas. So you can mute and please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, dear Guru Maharaj. Sorry, I'm driving on my way from Columbus to Cincinnati, so I apologize that I'm not able to properly offer my respects. It was a beautiful, beautiful class, Guru Maharaj. My question is about the mercy that you just spoke about at the end. How best can we align ourselves to be able to receive this mercy?
Yes, that's a very important question. Well, basically, Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada, by the grace of the spiritual master, one is benedicted by the mercy of Krishna. So how do we get the grace of the spiritual master? Basically by following his instructions. That's the essence of the relationship with the spiritual master, to hear his instructions and then to apply his instructions in our lives. And when we do that, we get his mercy. And when we get his mercy, we get Krishna's mercy. And one thing, of course, there are so many things, but one thing that Srila Prabhupada liked was book distribution. He wrote me personally, go on increasing books and go on increasing my pleasure. So if we, and of course there are so many other services that please Srila Prabhupada, I'm just mentioning one that he's emphasized, which is book distribution. And in essence, you could say he wanted us to taste Krishna consciousness and distribute Krishna consciousness. As Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, the best Gostianandi, well, there are these two words, Gostianandi and Bhajananandi. Bhajananandi means someone who takes pleasure, gets ananda from his own bhajan. And Gostianandi means someone who takes pleasure in sharing Krishna consciousness with others. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, the best Gostianandi is a Bhajananandi who preaches. In other words, when we actually relish the practices of devotional service, we can be a better preacher. So we should do both, taste Krishna consciousness, relish Krishna consciousness, and share Krishna consciousness, distribute Krishna consciousness.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
I see two more hands are up. Who will call on them?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandot Pranam. Maharaj, I was particularly influenced while reading Prabhupada Leelamrita on two of Srila Prabhupada's pastimes, one being Jhansi and the other being the Juhu temple. And what particularly struck me is how from a completely hopeless situation with our material understanding, Prabhupada came out successful. And so Maharaj, I just wanted to ask, in situations like this, where you know nothing is working in your favor, although you are trying to do something for Krishna, and without any motive, self-motive, when situations don't really go in your favor or in the favor that you expect, how do we keep the faith and the enthusiasm and still pursue our service in that direction?
Well, there's an underlying question, which is whether you're trying to go in the right direction. I mean, obstacles can arise to test us in our determination, or obstacles can arise to indicate to us that we're not on the right track. In the case of Juhu, we knew we were on the right track because Srila Prabhupada told us. And so we persevered in spite of the obstacles, and by Srila Prabhupada's mercy and Krishna's grace, we were successful. And also, Srila Rupa Goswami in the Upadeshamrita mentions 6 items that are required for success in devotional service, beginning with Utsaha Nischayat Daryat, Tat Karma Pravartanat. So Utsaha means enthusiasm, and Daryat means patience. We need both. Srila Prabhupada said that enthusiasm without patience can lead to a desire to control. And patience without enthusiasm can lead to lethargy. So, assuming that you're on the right track in what you want to achieve, you should be enthusiastic to achieve it. And at the same time, you should be patient if, in case you are not successful immediately or very quickly. And yeah. Another saying that comes to mind, which one devotee told me many years ago, is we should work as if everything depends on us, and we should pray as if everything depends on Krishna. Okay, not quite sure what's happening on the screen here, but we have Ishopanishad Devi Dasi.
Jai, Hare Krishna Maharaj. Please accept my pranams, all glories to your wonderful devotional service. It's such an honor and a treat to be in your association. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My question is in reference to Lord Chaitanya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And I've been reading along with other devotees, Pram Govinda Das. He's doing a wonderful pastime sharing on the Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. And I've noticed that, of course, this Lord Chaitanya, since he's an example of being an expert devotee, pure devotee. And my question is that since pure devotees follow the instructions of their guru, was it a instruction for Mahaprabhu to marry? Was he following an instruction, or did he just decide to marry because he just wanted to enter the ashram of that Grahastha ashram? Was that an instruction for him? Was he just pleasing his guru?
Well, at the time Lord Chaitanya married, he hadn't met his spiritual master.
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But in a way, you could say his parents were like his guru, and his parents wanted him to get married, and as is the case with most parents.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, you could say he was following his guru, but he actually met his real spiritual master later.
Jai. Haribol. Thank you, Maharaj. And I forgot that, that Maharaj's Sri Chaitanya, his pastimes are just, you find out so much about his personality and the way he was, how he treated people, and he was so personal. I didn't have any clue that he was so personal. I just love that.
In fact,
thank you. Mm-hmm.
Somehow you reminded me of something Srila Prabhupada told me. He said that if I just study the character of Lord Chaitanya, even without knowing that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I will become perfect. So.
Haribol. Thank you, Maharaj. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So Maharaj will take two more questions. So we have got Munjuranya Mataji, followed by Narottam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances of glories to Prabhupada. Thank you so much for your association. It's so nice to have you. Yeah, it's just wonderful every time you agree to come and give us your association. It's very uplifting. Now, Krishna Chandra Prabhu has said that we'll take two more questions, but actually I have two questions.
I think he meant two more people with
Okay.
questions.
All right. So my first question is, this is something that I've always been unclear about. You know, when you were explaining the reasons for Lord Chaitanya's appearance, you were explaining that that after Krishna left, he was thinking that I haven't come, that I haven't given the taste of devotional service in four mellows. So and so that's why he decides to come as Lord Chaitanya. So I was wondering how is that? Because when Krishna came, he demonstrates pastimes in all the mellows. So could you please explain that what does it actually mean when Krishna thinks like that I didn't actually give devotional service in these four mellows, because he did demonstrate it. So is he referring to the fact that he didn't give the process?
Yes, that's it. He in Vrindavan, he showed all the four mellows of devotional service, but he didn't teach the process of attaining those rasas. He gave his instructions in the Bhagavad Gita, and he concluded, Manmana Bhava Madbhakto and Sarvadharman Prityaja. But he didn't give the process by which one can enter into those confidential serving moods. And thus he came again as Lord Chaitanya to give us the process.
Okay, thank you. And then my second question is that, how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in the Shikshastakam in the third verse, Trinadapi Sunichena. So I was wondering that how does humility actually look like in everyday life? And how can we actually become humble so that we can chant the holy name?
Very important. Well, Srila Prabhupada advised us to address one another as Prabhu. Prabhu means master. And so if the other devotees are Prabhus, then we are their servants. It shouldn't just be a word. As Srila Prabhupada said, we shouldn't say, "Oh, Prabhu, can you please bring me my slippers?" Not like that. But really, Prabhu, you are my master. I am your servant. And when I joined the temple in Boston, I was told that Srila Prabhupada said that if someone asks us to do some service, we should always agree. And if someone offers to do some service for us, we should refuse. That's the idea of the others being Prabhus and we being servants. And once I was in the room when someone asked His Holiness Radhanath Swami how he became so humble, and he said by practice. He said he practiced being humble, and then gradually, eventually, it became part of him, you could say. And yeah, attentive chanting will make us humble. The effort to chant attentively will make us humble, because we'll see that how hard it is to hear one mantra without our mind wandering. So that's humbling. That's humbling. So, yeah, we have a lot to be humble about. Thank you. Jai. Narottam Das Thakur Das.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisance. It's all glory to Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, my question was that it is said that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to give what no other incarnation gave before. That is the mellow of conjugal love. And I was thinking, what is its, how do we understand it in our lives? If a sadhaka, if the eternal position of a particular jiva is not in the conjugal position, then how does it relate? How can that a devotee relate to this conjugal love mellow that Mahaprabhu is giving?
Yeah. Well, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunai. Love of Krishna is eternally situated in the heart. It does not have to come from another source. That's true. But it is said that most of the devotees who come to the Gaudiya Sampradaya are inclined or have the potential for Madhurya Ras. Otherwise, they would be attracted to some other Sampradaya. But what is our eternal relationship with Krishna will be revealed much later, at a more advanced stage of devotional service, and we really don't need to worry about it now. But the special feature of the Gaudiya Sampradaya is that we have the equipment to proceed towards Madhurya Ras.
Thank you.
Darshan.
So Anuradha Mataji, you can continue your question.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Just this morning, His Holiness Varshan Maharaj said that this is not Kali Yuga, it's Prem Yuga. I thought that was nice. But my question is, we often say that the disciples of Srila Prabhupada are so fortunate to have met Srila Prabhupada, to have had his association in this particular lifetime. And I'm just wondering, is there anything to be said about just people in general who were born, who were on the planet when, and in the vicinity, even unknowing, if there's some special dispensation or mercy, is there anything like that?
Well, certainly the planet was sanctified by Srila Prabhupada's presence. And I think it's of value that someone was alive when Srila Prabhupada was present. But the main thing is to, read Srila Prabhupada's books and serve his instructions. And if someone didn't happen to be born, someone's less than 45 years old and they didn't happen to be on the planet when Srila Prabhupada was here, they can still establish a very strong relationship with him by, reading his books, following his instructions, serving his servants. chanting the holy names, following the process of bhakti yoga. Yeah, he's very much present. His mercy is available. So many devotees who never met him have dreams about him. Many devotees have dreams that his deity on the Vyasa-san comes to life. So yeah, he's available. He's merciful and he's available, and yeah, the fact that someone wasn't on the planet when he was physically present or personally present is not a hindrance.
So I think that concludes our question and answer session, Maharaj. So once again, on behalf of ISKCON Auckland, a very happy Gaura Purnima to you and all the devotees on this forum. And also, Maharaj, thank you so much for coming online for us. Much appreciated. You are always there for us. So please be always there for us as well in future. And yeah, thank you so much, Maharaj.
If we're ending, I suggest we conclude with Vaishnava Pranam.
Yes, Maharaj, sure.
Let us offer respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desire trees, who can fulfill the desires of everyone, and are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls.
Patitanam Pavebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha.
Is Giriraj Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Haribol.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Jai Krishna. Hare Krishna Maharaj.